Let us welcome the third speaker of the contest, Miss Nicole Mori. Her speech title is Beyond the Numbers. Beyond the Numbers. So, Miss Mori, would you come up to the stage?
Sure. Thank you, Master of the Ceremonies. Good morning, distinguished judges and members of the audience. I learned my worth the moment my exam scores were handed back, face down on my desk. My hands trembled as I turned the paper over, and in a heartbeat, the room went silent. Because that simple number was more than a grade. It was judgment. It was worth. It was a verdict on who I was and what I could become. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about the invisible pressures that quietly shape us, how the obsession with measurement affects humanity, and the question we rarely ask: how should we handle these pressures before they break us? We grow up learning that worth is something to be proven and not something that we already possess. The pressure that we all encounter is the expectation to measure up. We grow up with measuring tapes wrapped around us to prove our value through digits, ranks, and results. And I know for a fact that this wasn't just in my head. It was woven into my surroundings. Growing up in the Philippines, I had a front row seat to a culture obsessed with measurement. There's a phrase I heard all my life: yan lang. This translates to just that. It's such a small question, yet it carries a sting. The sting of inadequacy. One night, I sat staring at the numbers on my test paper. I whispered to myself, no, I should have done better. I'm not enough. I'll never be enough. My chest ached, my stomach turned, and in that moment, it hit me. I realized that the measuring tape was no longer symbolic. It felt real and suffocating. I wasn't chasing knowledge anymore. I was chasing approval. And the more I chased it, the further I drifted away from myself. But this isn't just a personal struggle. It's a reflection of a world that has forgotten how to see the value beyond what can be counted. When a society begins to measure everything, it forgets the things that matter most. We live in a society that reduces human value to numbers. From education to employment, from beauty standards to social media metrics, our worth is ranked, rated, and reviewed. We measure everything now. Success by income, beauty by likes, intelligence by scores, but salaries don't show passion. Likes don't show character. Grades don't show curiosity, and yet these numbers decide who is worthy and who isn't. They shape how we see others, and worse, how we see ourselves. Yan lang, yan lang, yan lang. Everywhere I looked, those same words echoed. The reminder that no matter what I do, it will never be enough. We are told to look perfect, to study perfectly, to work perfectly, but no one tells us what happens when perfection becomes prison, when every mistake feels like failure, when every day feels like a race that you can never win. We are told to chase success, but we were never taught how to cope when the chase consumes us. And with that, mental health shatters and identities blur. Because when measurement replaces meaning, we begin to measure humanity itself. But measurement isn't the enemy, right? Because to measure is to understand, to improve, and to grow. The problem lies not in the act of measuring, but in what we choose to measure and why. So, we must learn how to measure wisely, to be critical of what we count, and to be compassionate with what we can't. In classrooms, that means recognizing growth, not just perfection. In workplaces, it means effort. And in our lives, it means giving ourselves permission to rest, to fail, and to simply be without constantly proving that we deserve to exist. Because change begins when we stop defining ourselves by numbers and start defining ourselves by values. If we could shift our focus even slightly toward the things that can be tallied, the change would speak in ways numbers never could. Worth would be defined by the sincerity of one's heart. When everything else fades, we will be remembered for far more than the numbers that once defined us. The grades that made us cry, the rankings that made us doubt ourselves, they will fade. But the kindness we gave, the courage we found, the lives we touched, those will last. Because what truly shapes a life are the very things that no system was ever built to measure. So, the next time you see a grade, a number, or a reflection in the mirror, remember this. You are not a statistic. You are not your GPA, your salary, or your weight. You are a living human, full of flaws, dreams, and moments that no number can ever define. You are messy, emotional, and evolving. And that is not something to fix. That is what makes you human. And to be human is to exceed what numbers can hold. Now, cut the tape. Define yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mori. Now we will have a question and answer session. Mr. Eboshi, please.
Okay, good afternoon, Mori-san.
Good afternoon.
Okay, how do you feel right now?
Quite nervous.
But you finally did your job. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so my first question's a little bit difficult to answer. Like speech contests, like Todai High or any other speech contest, the judges always decide rank and measure each speaker's speech and score them. What do you think about this system?
Okay, well, everybody knows that our society has always been this way, competition-based, always depending on numbers. But the thing that is wrong is that we start to forget how to separate our identity from evaluation. And this is where the conflict starts and everyone forgets who they really are. Thank you.
All right, so next question. How can educators or workplaces shift their focus from numbers to values?
Okay, for education, I feel that it would be best if we start to focus on feedbacks, for example, not just the output, which are the grades. And for workplaces, we must also recognize the effort or growth over time. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Next question. What advice would you give to someone struggling with the pressure to measure up?
Okay, the message that I would give is to start reflecting on what does it really mean to be human, because I believe that measuring alone should not be someone's worth. We should start to think about it deeply and not just look at someone through the lens of numbers. Thank you.
Right. Hopefully, the last question. If you could change one thing about how society evaluates people, what would it be and why?
Well, the only thing that I would want to change is how we interpret things. Numbers are still very much important in our society because it is very good to quantify data. However, the way people see it is something that's not, I would say, fair, because numbers only show the output of something, but it doesn't show the full story or the background behind it. Just like my speech, although I am graded, my speech is graded, my answers are graded. However, it cannot capture the full reason on why I want to convey my message. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eboshi and Ms. Ishii. Please go back to your seats. Now, we'll have the judging time.